Do you have anything in mind? No?
Yeah, the whole week, man.
You had the whole week.
The whole week, not even like.
You guys never answer my question.
No, listen. I didn't know that's why you don't supply questions anymore. I thought it's because we told you we're not going to do the questions anymore. And that. But it's funny how you had some reason to blame us for, but you just found another one.
Yeah.
I did, though. Are we starting?
Well, we welcome.
Yes. Hi there. Welcome to Directors Debrief, episode 18. And I promised Ram I'd give him a quick shout out. I asked Ram to take some notes during the podcast for when stuff, if there's any reelable material or anything that can be repurposed.
Yeah.
And I didn't even mention it. And I said, "Are you going to take notes today?" And he pointed at his notepad. And he's like, "That's why I got that there." So,
well,
kudos. I said I'd give you some on-camera kudos. So kudos to you, amigo. So, I mean, it sounded like you were going to mention a few other topics. I'm just cautious of camera charge, all of this stuff. So I figured you could just surprise me.
Yeah.
The stuff you want to talk about. But
well, not too much. I kind of want to delve into a few things of business leaders that you've heard maybe on podcasts. I'm not talking about, they don't have to be the multi-millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires. Yeah. People that you've seen, and again, it doesn't have to necessarily be in business, but leadership is where I'm looking, right? So people of leadership, senior roles, and what they brought to the table and what attributes you see in them that you like, and potentially what some attributes you maybe don't like as much because they're not all built to be
got
perfect.
a lot to talk about on this. So
that's kind of the idea. It's been a little bit based on Elon Musk. Obviously we've mentioned him a couple of times. He's a big hot topic at the moment given the Twitter stuff, all of that going on.
This is right up your street, by the way. Twitter.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Going on there. So I'll mention a little bit about that to give it a bit of context. But the main reason that I came to it was because of some of the criticism I saw on Twitter, his own platform apparently now, and this criticism that was coming about, and it was interesting, and I think it helped me shape my views on a few things, or it was going there. So anyway, what happened this week? So in the last couple of weeks, Elon Musk randomly out of nowhere. It started from a tweet he said, but every tweet that Elon Musk makes has something behind it. And he said, does Twitter have a freedom of speech problem? Yeah. All right. Like, is it suppressing things? Social media's had a big issue with this for a while, right? Mm-hmm. And to which he got hundreds of thousands, I think, if not millions of votes. Yes, no, yes, no. Obviously, the majority saying yes, it has got a problem. Yeah. And he then proceeded to just disappear on that whole conversation. A week or two later, he buys something like 9.2% of Twitter. That's a couple bill. It's just it's more than a couple bill. Yeah.
Wow, it's actually worth so much money, Twitter.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yes and no. In today's world, is that actually that much? Probably not.
No, listen, the reason why I say surprisingly is if you were to tell me Meta as a company, formerly known as Facebook, was that big, I'd be happy to believe it because they I suppose. Like Instagram is just so huge. Yeah. And I get Twitter's huge, but it also owns Snapchat. And Snapchat isn't, in my eyes...
Twitter owns Snapchat.
Does it not?
No, I don't think it does.
Who owns Snapchat?
I think Snapchat is Snapchat. Yeah.
No, hold on.
Yeah, no, Twitter they own Vine, or they used to own Vine.
Who owns...
Yeah. Ram knows. Still big Snapchat user. Ram, we used to use Snapchat back in the day. Mate.
Mad. I don't know why I was so convinced.
What's your Snap score? Is that still a thing?
Is that...
Yeah.
Is it? So, okay. So it's a...
What you do? Wait, if I remember what Snapchat scores
what was yours?
I don't know. Like it was in the tens of thousands. But
was
that was
it? Respect. I think mine was like 1,500.
Yeah, no, but I thought that was like a big amount at the time. Like I used to like selfies, but
that's all right.
I don't want to know what you sent, but yeah. I mean,
let's not go with that.
So, wow. Okay, so Snapchat is still cool.
So it's still cool, apparently.
Okay,
so maybe...
And it has nothing to do with Twitter.
Nothing to do with Twitter.
Yeah.
So that just double downs on my point, though.
Yeah. So okay, let's put everything in perspective. Twitter is worth, quick maths, about 30 billion, based on Elon Musk buying about 3 billion of it for 9.2%. Let's say 35 billion, right? Facebook... not so long ago during the peak pandemic and when tech stocks were going really high, it was worth $1 trillion.
Right.
So that is 1,000 billion.
Facebook as a whole?
Meta. Everything.
So Instagram merged
WhatsApp,
in that. Yeah,
everything.
okay.
That's 1,000 versus 30.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
that's why I'm like, everyone's like, oh, that's quite.
Hold on. That's 1,000 billion versus 30. Let's not forget the extra couple of O's at the end. That's a big distinction.
I mean, everyone used to think, like a long time ago, everyone was like, oh, Twitter's going to kill Facebook.
Yeah.
That ended a long time ago.
Yeah.
Twitter just carried on doing its own thing.
Relative, that's probably what I imagined it at. I just didn't realize. Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
Cool. And they don't even know. Yeah. So they own very little.
Yeah.
They owned a thing called Vine.
Yeah.
So
don't
do you
say
remember
a
Vine?
thing called Vine.
Yeah. Well, it got shut down, right?
I know. But...
So Vine was short form video content before it became cool.
Yeah.
Like it was really fun for a bit. Twitter owned it. They were running it. You'd see it everywhere. There was that guy. Everyone remembers that one
King
guy.
Bat?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I think that is the very unfortunate reason that we have the Paul brothers in the world. I think that's where they made their fame.
What, on Vine?
Yeah.
Really? I thought, okay. And then they went to YouTube.
I do believe they are the spawn of fucking Vine. Sorry, I really dislike those.
It doesn't really, it hasn't really left a good picture. But yeah, that was short form content. Twitter axed it because Twitter has weird product development people that axe projects at the wrong poorly time. And then TikTok and Instagram TikTok releases TikToks and then Instagram releases Reels, which does really well. So maybe that's an example of poor timing and so on. Anyway, that's where we are. Elon Musk plows in a couple bill. There's a new CEO of Twitter who took over from Jack Dorsey called Parag Agrawal. And he is CEO, he's formerly CTO. And he's taken it over. Now, the issue is Twitter's apparently becoming a bit too woke. And I get the whole woke culture, but when a company is led by woke people, certainly a social media platform that is meant to be all about freedom of speech and so on, that's a little bit worrying.
Sure.
Because what is woke? What Ram thinks is woke is very different from what I think is woke and what you think is woke.
Very true.
So, yeah.
Can I pick at that?
Go.
Just because I've been doing a lot of thinking about this particular topic.
Yeah, go.
Why is it detrimental to society? I've been trying to encapsulate these thoughts in my head. I think I have a few ideas.
Because I think a lot of wokeness is just replicating other people's opinions and not critically creating your own.
Yeah.
So I have no issue personally with people forming their own critical opinions.
Right.
And then calling that woke.
But bandwagoning.
Can
be dangerous. We know
can
this.
Be very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing the biggest thing, and this is where is that people aren't just bandwagoning off other people's thoughts. They're bandwagoning on what the government has kind of plowed the seeds for in society.
Okay.
And then create this wokeness. So to give you some examples, during the pandemic, they'd sprinkle some and sow some seeds of what the pandemic was doing and all of that. There's no anti-vaccine, no anti-mask, but there were some seeds of like, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And it was just sown, but no one knew why they were thinking that way.
Yeah. There were some flat out lies.
Yeah,
like
right.
Masks don't work, so they could.
Yeah.
Like, I get why you did that. Preserve the masks for the people who need them. But at some point, that's going to bite you in the ass, and it did.
And exactly. And okay, that day it was about the masks. But what happens when it gets more serious?
Yeah.
What happens when the government makes it? A few people with certain opinions are able to replicate that over society. Yeah. And that's where I think wokeness really needs to calm down. So, sorry.
So that's the consequence of wokeness. Let's get back on your initial train of thought, which was it's dangerous to have a company being led by woke people because the platform becomes that way.
Yes, and the algorithm is structured to become more woke.
Right, to favour those
people.
To
favour those that are more woke and to kind of suppress thoughts that are even slightly against that, or maybe gain any momentum the other way. So it's not like they'll delete tweets, although there have been incidents where things have been deleted or people have been removed. And things like that. But what's happening is the algorithm is suppressing the voices. It's almost like having a town square. The leader of the town square, let's say the mayor, goes around with his clan and he's like, I like you, you can keep talking. In fact, here's a megaphone. But you, you're raising a point that I don't like, right?
Yeah.
We're going to suppress you. And that's genuinely what's happening in the algorithm of social media.
Yeah. That's how the Nazis gain power.
Yeah. This is it. People need to think like that.
Horribly out of context, but yeah.
No, but it genuinely is that case. That, okay, I'm not saying that Twitter's wokeness is going to lead to Nazism,
no,
but it could lead to something of an extreme side in the future if we're not too careful and we don't preserve the beauty of freedom of speech that we have today.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it there. You've recently become a Twitter user yourself.
I have.
Although I was stalking your profile and I understand that you're not really giving it the attention it deserves.
Dude,
but yeah.
If you're stalking my profile, it means that you've used it more than me.
There we go.
Dude,
yeah.
I can't get addicted to it.
What?
Not
as in it's not good enough for you to get addicted to?
No, I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
But it's not the other thing. It's not me trying to prevent the addiction by keeping it at arm's length.
Yeah.
It's that I can't get hooked in. I'm not getting hooked in.
Because you're not enjoying it?
Yeah. I think and like the
How
thing
many
is,
people do you follow?
that's the thing. I didn't curate my feed as you. I haven't followed the advice to be as critical of it as I am.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I feel like I see all the tweets I want to see as screenshots on Instagram.
Are they funny tweets?
Yeah.
So you're getting 100% funny tweets.
100% funny.
10%
One was quite enlightening.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get onto that in a little bit because I don't want to get off topic too much.
Yeah, sure.
Why do you think Elon bought that share of Twitter? Because we threw some theories out into the mix last night.
Okay, so originally people were thinking all sorts of things. Yeah. I thought 9.2% was pretty small for Elon. Elon does something either big.
Is he regulated though? Because I feel like you said, if you start to own 10%, a little bit above, it's a bit authoritative.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some regulatory body in America or if there's some trading commission that won't let him buy
not
more.
at all. As at the end of the day, you can own a company outright, technically. As long as he goes through
shareholders refusing to sell that.
But the thing is, at the end of the day, if people are selling to him, he's okay.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's a public company, so it's not privately owned. So the shareholders don't come together and say you can't own X, you can't own Y.
So you think it was an active decision to only buy 9.2%?
For now, I actually think
he
already owns more.
You think he already does? It's just not public.
Yeah, I think something's coming out. Because, so what happened since his 9.2% is he was this Parag guy, I'm sure he's a great guy, but he's obviously a puppet for the bigger idea behind Twitter, yeah. And
what did you just call it?
What did I call it?
What did you just call Twitter?
I don't know.
Okay. Don't loop that, because I think you said a dirty word.
Did I say what Elon said to call it?
What?
So Elon put a tweet out. He's been putting tweets out saying, "Should I do this in Twitter? Should I do that?" And he put, "Should I delete the W in Twitter?"
Oh.
And I think I just said that out loud.
No, I think you replaced the I with an A.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Let's definitely not loop that. Anyway, so he came out. He bought that, and then Parag tweeted out and said, "Here, we're going to offer you a board seat. You're going to be at the board for Twitter, right?" This is, by the way, the most action that Twitter as a company has had in a long time. Because it is, apart from the actual platform being interesting, it is a boring company.
Okay.
Very little innovation, very little product development. Anything they do, I don't even know what they do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's been a bit lame and a bit meh.
Yeah.
And that's been partly because Jack Dorsey, the main guy who owns 2.2%, he was the former CEO, he's been distracted by his other company, Blocks, Square. And all this Bitcoin stuff and all that. So he's very much away from Twitter.
Is Square a part of Square Payments and I think Square Space? Is that all one ecosystem?
Actually, you might. I'm not too sure.
Okay, ignore me.
But Square is now called Blocks.
Yeah.
But Square payment integrations and all of that.
Okay, cool. Right, can you pass my glasses, please? Sorry. So he was distracted by that other company.
Yeah. So he was distracted by the other company. Twitter's been pretty lame, not really much going on.
Yeah.
Then he gets offered a board seat, but in return, he's not allowed to buy more than 14.9% of Twitter.
Yeah.
So that's what Parag says, and that's like the official terms that Elon's made. Elon, being Elon, rejects the board seat and says no more.
Yeah.
Parag tweets about Elon rejecting the board seat.
Yeah.
And Elon replies with a hand over his mouth face.
Yeah.
gets like 70,000 likes and then deletes that tweet, along with Elon deleting a lot of tweets related to this.
Yeah.
And he likes one tweet from one random anonymous Twitter account that says something along the lines of Elon didn't come here to just be suppressed. Elon's voice will be heard. And that's all that we've got.
So this is the thing. I'm wondering, I thought this was investments. From listening to podcasts and reading online, I got a couple ideas from other people that this might be, he wants more control over the platform that pretty much dictates his marketing in terms of when it comes to the things like Tesla and his other sort of business ventures.
So what do you mean by that? Do you think it's like a media outlet kind of thing?
Yeah, somebody else described it as more of a marketplace, and I think that's a lot smarter. Because nobody goes to Twitter for long-form content, they go there for access to long-form content. And so it's a very good way to regulate, let's say, not publicly, but if something is like crapping all over Tesla, he might be able to influence something, not directly, influence something that influences the algorithm that influences how much reach that particular product gets.
Sure.
So it wouldn't be like, I guess this is me just going into super mad theory with like red tape and shit. If he was to do something like that, he could decide that he switches from lithium-ion batteries to another battery type.
Yeah.
He thinks that battery type is the future. I think they already don't use lithium-ion.
Yeah.
But he could start bumping up articles where lithium-ion batteries are dangerous and his type of batteries are safe and secure.
Okay.
But again, he can't do that directly, so he comes up with a way of connecting the dots in the algorithm that lithium-ion batteries are not good. And so when the next Mercedes EQC drops and it's got a lithium-ion battery, it will restrict the amount of views that gets.
Sure.
I'm not saying that's his intention, and again, this is mad, like red tape, draw the line, carry the two kind of shit, but it does just make me curious, like, if he owns 9.2% of that platform.
Yeah. And could potentially own more. It's a very good point, and
I'm trying to see why he's going
it's
along
good to again. That is good critical thinking, and I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you said you read a few people discuss this, and then you created your own thoughts on that. My thing with that is that Twitter, firstly, isn't the internet. It's really a little segment of it.
Yeah.
If he tried to buy Meta, Twitter, everything, then he'd be able to control it, because the whole lithium-ion thing. Okay, on Twitter, people will say it's safe, but then on Facebook, you have the Facebook group saying, actually, no, this is a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
I mean, news articles will say it's a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
They're bankrolled by the... So it's a very difficult influence to have.
Yes.
Unless Twitter was a monopoly.
But what if it's more defensive rather than offensive? Because you've got Jeff Bezos owning the Washington Post. You've got Bill Gates. I'm assuming he still has significant control over MSN.
Yeah.
So what if it's more defensive than offensive? So people talk shit about his battery technology, and he uses it to boost and counteract it.
Yeah, it's a very good point, and I can't really argue with it, because I think
your counter argument, what you mentioned last night, I think was pretty smart though. Of like, what if this is a project of his? Right? What if his end goal is to turn, like you say, the innovation side of Twitter is kind of dwindling a little bit, right? So what if this is him trying to re-inject? He's a very smart entrepreneur. He's set up businesses like it was PayPal or X.com.
PayPal,
because they merged at some point. But he's a very smart entrepreneur, and if he understands one thing, it's how to get businesses, fire. Cool. So I think the point that I was trying to make is you raised a very interesting angle about this whole thing, where we're talking about Elon Musk has very good inhibitions and is able to sort of inject a lot of life into a business.
Yeah.
Losing my voice. But he's really good at doing that. And so you were saying, well, what if the plan is to own more and more and bring it back to life a little bit, run it as a business? Like, I thought he was just going to, buy 9.2%, slip the odd suggestion in the suggestion box, which I'm sure he has a private one that sits on Parag's desk.
Sure.
And just tries to support him, like bolster himself up. But you said you think this is bigger than him.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk is past this whole point now. He was past it a long time ago. There is no denying that Tesla has now won.
It's
like,
one.
It's one.
It's
like
one.
it's got
Give
a
up.
long way to go.
Everybody else,
it's still worth a portion of where it's going to be as a company
Yeah.
when it goes to energy, robotics, all of that. But the fact is, he made it survive when it was on the verge of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And you can sense it in where he is, that he's got a lot to focus on with Tesla and grow it and develop it. They're opening 2 new factories later this year and so on, and a load going on. And when I say factories, I'm talking about a warehouse. I'm talking like one of the biggest factories in the world. He's opening 2 of them in America and the Far East and so on.
Manufacturing batteries, that's no easy business. That's
Right.
a huge deal.
And that's the biggest issue with EV ramping up, that everyone's saying, oh, all the other companies are going to ramp up.
Yeah.
They're taking some time.
Yeah.
But they will get there and so on. But anyway, what I was going with is the guy is worth what was the status at $288 billion or something?
That's what I last saw it at, or what you last mentioned to me.
So it depends on the Tesla share price today. But wherever it is, it's somewhere around there, which puts him at $100 billion more than the second, which is Jeff Bezos.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah.
When I say incredible, I'm not saying necessarily some people be like, oh, it's not all about money. I mean, it's just an incredible amount.
And as a metric, that a large majority of people, and if people want to argue with this, I don't care. It's a metric of success to a lot of people. It's not to a lot of people as well. I don't consider it one, but I know that it's generally considered. There's a Forbes top list for fuck's sake. Like there is a reason.
And let's not take it as a personal thing. Then we go zoom out, and that's a metric of success for his companies and the products that he's created. No one could argue with that. If someone be like, oh, it's overvalued, fine, whatever. But it's been overvalued then for a while. And nothing seems to be going the other way. But I think he's just past that point now. People say, you obviously talk about the media angle, which makes sense. Yeah. He doesn't need it.
Not even to protect his wealth, because his wealth is very fluid, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have $8 billion in the bank.
Yeah, very true. But he has got a fair amount now in the bank that he's stacked up because he's liquidated a lot in options that he was forced to do. So it took him a while, but he's now got a fair chunk in the bank. He's obviously bought his own personal stack of Bitcoin. Tesla's like he has it there. And crypto. So he invests, and he openly says what he owns now. He sold all of his properties. He's huge into real estate. He's pretty much getting rid of all of that because he doesn't believe in real estate anymore, or material assets, or whatever he's saying. His sole focus, as he continuously goes on about, is getting to Mars. It's about making the world more sustainable. And I feel that his thing, he, like him or not, and again, I want to be clear that it's not like I love Elon Musk. I certainly look up to him in certain ways. I'm like, wow, this guy's inspiring. Yeah. There are certain things that apparently I've heard about him, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's something
He's my favorite billionaire.
Sure.
And I don't like a lot of them. I really don't like a lot of them, but he is by far my favorite.
And Jeff's all right as well. I'm joking.
I'm only saying I like him because a lot of our work's on Amazon, and he could click his fingers or tweet you and it'll be over.
That's it. But so
I like him how Russians like Putin. I'm just scared to not like him.
But he does some good stuff.
I have to cut that back. What?
See, this is the world we live in now, where we worry.
Yeah, we're too woke.
And Elon's looking at this and he's going, right, I'm making the world sustainable. Yeah. I'm heading to Mars. I'm obviously doing things that I think will make the world a better place. But we're heading to more wokeness and more control and more, thus, dictatorship and ESG. I'll go into ESG in a moment. Okay. And he's seeing that, okay, how can I put my foot on things, just like I did with Tesla, which accelerated the whole industry. Tesla was one company, still only makes 1% of all cars. Yeah. But how can he influence a whole industry? And there's no denying he's done that in there. Yeah. He's influenced the space industry, where government space agencies weren't moving quickly enough, so this whole private industry's come up. Yeah. I think with Twitter, he's going to try and do some kind of activist takeover, which will influence only Twitter in the short term, but will force people like us to resort to platforms like Twitter, where we know that what we see is free speech, and force other platforms like Meta, where there are serious issues, to conform to what people want rather than wokeness. So I think he's trying to do what he does, which is influence from one company, influence an entire industry and space. But yet to be seen in that respect. So we shall see. Yeah.
What do you think will be the biggest change then, as a Twitter user? Well, actually, no. Better question. As a regular Twitter user, what's a big change that you would like to see?
I'd like to see more innovation, firstly, in the platform.
Yeah.
I think
until you mentioned it, I hadn't even thought of it.
Yeah, so some people say, oh no, but you got to stick with the basics, stick with that. I think it could become a podcasting platform.
Really?
Yeah, I see no reason why. So they launched Twitter Spaces, which is just like Clubhouse, and that's doing incredibly well, but it's not good enough yet. Clubhouse has died out because Twitter Spaces is here, and Facebook have released their own version. Going back to something we've spoken about before, the whole Joe Rogan thing, and Spotify, Elon Musk tweeted about that, and he was like, everyone's blaming Joe Rogan for all the bad and all this stuff going on. Where's the freedom of speech? And he's never said, I agree with this or I agree with that. He's always been pro-vaccine. But on the same token, he's always said, I want a freedom of speech. And I think Twitter could become far stronger, where it becomes a podcasting platform. It becomes a whole holistic space where people can share their views and be heard. And I think he would genuinely want the best for that platform. And it will force other social media outlets to go through. So that's where I see things. But anyway, it's been a very big Elon Musk podcast, I guess. Yeah. But the thing here is we spoke about leaders and what we see.
Yeah.
Based on what you've seen of Elon Musk, what do you, and you said earlier, you find him inspiring and so on. Yeah. What do you see
I said he's my favorite billionaire.
Sure. Okay. What do you like about him?
Yeah.
And maybe what do you hesitate on?
I like that look, you could tell me any of the billionaires that exist on this world are evil, and I'm very happy to believe you.
Okay.
You could tell me that, and there's some theories that I've heard that Jeff Bezos drinks the blood of children to stay youthful. And do you know what? If a newspaper article comes out in the next week or so, or if a tweet from Elon comes out to prove it, I wouldn't be that surprised. Shocked, yes. But like, you could tell me any of the billionaires are evil, and I'm willing to believe it. With Elon, though, he just seems to have an answer for everything. So everyone's just like, you're avoiding tax. And he's like, no, I'm just not expected to pay tax. Nobody volunteers tax. And so he's just not had a tax bill yet. There was a thing of he only needed to pay the tax on the shares he exercised, right?
Yeah.
And then he paid a record-breaking, the highest amount of tax that any person has paid. Everyone was just like, if I had your money, I'd solve the world's hunger problem. And he goes, all right, I'll do it. Show me what I need to do, and I'll do it.
Yeah.
Suddenly everyone went quiet. Do you know, like, I think he proves to the world that it's all too easy to get angry, but actually doing something is a little bit hard.
Yeah.
It's actually involved. And like, there it is. He's the one who's gone out and earned, I only put that to appease some people, earned his money, right? And then he's willing to put it out there, provided that he had some conditions. One, it was everything had to be open record. So you have to show exactly where the money was going. And so that's why I like him ultimately. I think anything bad people say about Mark Zuckerberg, about all of the other billionaires, they don't necessarily address, and because they don't need to ultimately, but they don't. Yeah. Whereas Elon's very much just like, I'm come at me, like I have an answer for these things.
Do you know what I think he did that was really unique?
Go on.
Is he took away that media stronghold in between. So before, for you, a person who consumes entertainment and media, to know your opinion of Elon would come via a media agency. It would be what someone writes about Elon. It would be an interview with Elon. It would be that. Whereas what he's done is, and that's the bit that creates distortion, right? The media outlet could show him in a good light if they feel like it, or they could show him in a bad light. And he would have zero ability to influence that really, other than a few comments. They take a quote out of context or whatever. And I'm seeing this more and more where these billionaires or these leaders are now communicating with people closer. That's what Twitter allows, right? That's what Trump really leveraged. He got rid of the agency. And I'm not saying it was a good or bad thing. I'm just saying it was a very powerful thing to do, where you get rid of that distortion in the media and you're allowed to communicate it. Whatever your opinion, good, bad, whatever, you're allowed to communicate it to your end user and make them feel like they're like mates with you. You can tweet them, he'll reply back.
That's a big thing I think a lot of celebrities have, or like more traditional celebrities. So that's a very valid point. I do like a lot of that about him. If I was to highlight some things I don't like about him, it's the sporadic nature of the things that he does. By the way, I'm fully aware what I'm about to say is pretty much me going, I don't like that he doesn't conform to society.
Okay.
I realize that's a problem. I realize the toxicity in that message. But he does come across as genius/psychopath. And I think that some people might look up to that, try and implement that in their own lives. Imagine if you and I behaved like Elon for a day.
Right.
We wouldn't turn into billionaires. We'd tank a company, you know? Just come in one day and just go, we've spent our business money on Bitcoin. We've done this, we've done that. We'd run the company into the ground.
Yeah.
And I understand that I think he has a deeper understanding of the business world, of the online world, media, and technology, ultimately. I loved what some people were saying about him about... I think it was either Joe Rogan or Marquez Brownlee when they interviewed him. They were like, we were really interested. It was very cool to know how deep of an understanding you have of your cars. He is, I don't think he's an engineer graduate or anything like that, but he sits with the engineers and he understands the mechanics of the things that he sells.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, especially a public figure, and I guess it's helped him in many regards. I just don't like that element to him. I think there's so much benefit to explaining the context of your decisions to people that you work with, people that work for your business. I think that's a very important part, maybe more applicable to smaller companies.
Yeah.
But I think offering that context, not justifying it, just getting people to understand what you're trying to achieve.
Interesting.
What you got? That's my...
No, it's a very good point. So when I was in my rabbit hole of Twitter and all of this was kicking off, in terms of the Twitter purchase and everything, I saw some tweets, anti-Elon tweets, and it was discussing, and it was interesting. It was discussing the fact the guy is very good at raising money.
Yeah.
So he did that for PayPal, he did that for Zip, and then basically he's a very good brand and he can raise the money. And these people were saying, well, when you have enough money, you can do whatever you want. You're able to plow money in. So they were basically describing the fact that Tesla was just formed from creating this whole brand, this whole image, basically making no money for a long time, still making very little money because it survives on carbon credits, and just plowing that into development and hoping for the best and making it stick. Now, yes, in theory, he is very good at raising money, of course.
Definitely.
But I think these people underestimate how difficult it is to capital allocate. Like, say you have $1 billion.
Yeah.
That does not mean you're able to turn that into $10 billion or $100 billion. Yeah. And this is where I think people get confused and they just see that, it's easy when you've got money.
Yeah.
I mean, you try and turn a tenner into 100 quid. It's not that easy.
No, absolutely. We've talked about this as well. Money tends to dampen creativity. You know, like we work in e-commerce, right? And if you were to tell somebody to create a e-commerce business with £5,000 versus somebody with £100,000, I can tell you the £100,000, what did I say? 100,000?
Yeah, £10,000 to £100,000.
So 10 and 100?
Yeah.
Let's assume that. 10,000, 100,000. The £100,000 is going to find a basic shitty product, whatever.
Yeah.
Spend 10 grand on stock, 90,000 on Google Ads. I guarantee that's what they're going to do. That's just what's going to happen.
Right.
Whereas this person doesn't have that money to plow into Google Ads. So they're going to get creative. That's where the Red Bull campaign came out of, where they tried to break into the Europe market, but it was already, the UK, I think, Monster was already dominating the space. So they printed a bunch of empty Red Bull cans, crushed them and threw them in bins everywhere. Create demand, generate this thing that this is exciting. And so I think money can dampen. Red Bull wasn't a small company, but it can dampen creativity. So I don't think what he does is easy by any stretch of the means. But yeah, he's a good entrepreneur. Like looking into the backstory of PayPal, X.com, like how these guys operate is thrifty. It's smart. It's not. You have to build something that somebody wants to give money to as well. But yeah,
like you say, at the end of the day, it's not like he's gone for easy businesses or easy industries and just replicate them and chucked a load of money at them. He's literally gone into things that have never been done before in the way they've been done before. And
he showed up the the automotive industry. I genuinely believe he did.
And how many people are actually banking on him doing that?
Yeah.
Very few, So, this wasn't a podcast about making Elon or loving Elon, but I think it was an insight into one of the big hot shots at the moment that everyone's talking about and everyone's got their eye on, and who seems to disrupt pretty much any industry that he goes into. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes.
So a lot of fingers crossed here that a lot of what we said just now Age as well.
Yeah.
In about a month, we might learn
There
that.
you go. Yeah, we might look like absolute fools, and just like Elon was like, nah, he just sold everything in Twitter. But yeah.
What was I going to say? Yeah. Anything else?
How are we doing with time?
Yeah, we're coming up to about 35 minutes or so.
Yeah,
so we can wrap up.
Yeah, let's just call this the Elon episode for
next week, I believe. Ram, cut this out depending on whether I get confirmation or not, because I'm still waiting. Next week we have quite an exciting episode. Sorry, you're not that involved unless you find yourself in Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
But I'm going to visit my good friends at The Wandering Bee, company an e-commerce brand that we've spoken about before. I'm going to be speaking to the founders.
Amazing.
I'm going to their warehouse that they've just moved into.
Yeah.
Very excited to catch up with those guys. So I'm keen to dive in deep as to what inspired these young entrepreneurs.
Yeah, brilliant guys. I'm really excited to listen to that episode and go forward.
I'm excited to go ask the questions.
Good stuff. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, cut that bit if I don't actually get confirmation for tomorrow.
When are you recording?
Monday.
Oh, sick.
Easter.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah,
so I'm going to be in Manchester anyway, so I'll swing up and see.
Good. Yeah, that'll be. Make sure you get questions.
We still got a film on Wednesday though.
So, okay.
Yeah. Just to keep backlog. That's not how we. Sign off quickly.
Take it easy. All right, thanks for listening, guys. We never actually said what episode it was, so Sam,
18.
Yeah.
Ram cut over the audio line, just over my mouth, where it just goes right number.
And so episode 18. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed today's episode, please do comment, like, subscribe, and tell us what you want to hear more of. Like, are you enjoying these business chats? Are you enjoying more of the chit chats? Are you more enjoying the life hacks? Whatever you want. We're looking to evolve and develop. But yeah, enjoy next week with the guest. Cheers.
Thank you.